Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 21 Hats podcast. I'm your host, Lauren Feldman. This week, Shawn Busse tells Jay Goltz and Sarah Segal that he sees all kinds of opportunities for small businesses, including his own, in the coming wave of climate-related government spending and tax credits. Count Jay among the convinced. He's got 4 buildings, 5 vans, a truck, some sprinters, and a parking lot where he could put a charging station. If there's government money available for upgrades, he asks, why wouldn't I do that? Plus, Jay explains how he's rethinking his search for an HR person. And Sarah tells us she's ready to meet in the metaverse. Even in good times, owning and running a business can be a lonely pursuit. Our hope is that these weekly conversations will let owners know they are not alone in facing challenges. Same thing with our daily newsletter, the 21 Hats Morning Report, which Inc. magazine recently named the best newsletter for business owners and which you can subscribe to at 21hats.com, where you can also find transcripts of our podcast episodes and lots of other articles and interviews. Joining me this week on the podcast are regulars Shawn Busse, CEO of Kinesis, which is based in Portland, Oregon, and works with small businesses on marketing, culture, and strategy. Jay Goltz, whose companies in Chicago include a picture frame business, artist frame service, and a home furnishing store, Jason Home. And Sarah Segal, who is founder and CEO of Segal Communications, a public relations firm based in San Francisco. The episode is titled, There's Big Money All Over the Place. Welcome, Shawn, Jay, and Sarah. Great to have you all here. Shawn, you've been open with us about the fact that the pandemic kind of threw off your marketing game and that you've been struggling a bit to figure out what to do going forward. But we talked earlier this week, and I gather you've got kind of a new idea, a new opportunity that you see. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's actually an idea that my team brought to me a while back before any kind of legislation was passed. But they were really interested in getting into sustainability and the green economy and bringing in more businesses in that were in that space. You know, I'm intrigued by that. I'm kind of fascinated by a lot of the science and technology. But then I started looking into the recent, it's called the Inflation Reduction Act, which is kind of funny, but it's a lot of money. I mean, it's like $700 billion over 10 years. And of that, almost $370 billion is really kind of dedicated to the energy and green economy. And I've been researching, I've been looking into like, this is going to have this really profound impact on our society and our economy. And especially at a time when there's a lot of uncertainty about, you know, how's the economy doing? You know, the government's going to be pushing money into this sector. And I just started looking at our client base and I realized that some of our very, very best clients are already working in this space. I just hadn't really kind of connected the dots. So good example, I have an automation engineering client that's just fantastic. They did this really amazing high altitude wind project a while back. This is long before any kind of money was in it. This is private money, not government money. I have a client that's doing stuff with wave energy on the Oregon coast. I have clients that are in the HVAC space. I have clients that are in the kind of building science space.
How would it affect a company in the HVAC space? What are you thinking?
Yeah. So like the vast majority of our buildings are terrible from an energy use and consumption perspective. And so you're going to see just this massive overhaul of how those buildings work, you know, from a heating, cooling, energy consumption, electrification. And so if you're in the HVAC space, you're going to want to get on the cutting edge of that stuff. You're going to want to get to where you understand really the advanced technology that's going to need to go into these buildings. So as somebody who provides support for those types of businesses, I mean, we have a lot of clients that are in the HVAC space. We have a lot of clients that are engineers that work with buildings. The technology is changing super, super fast. And if you can adapt to that technology as a business, there's a lot of money that's going to be out there and a lot of demand that's going to be created. And so, I've never really gone into a niche, because I really enjoy diversity. I'm kind of like Sarah, she's got her donut client and she's got these tech clients. I really like that, and my team likes that. But I see a thread between, I'd say probably half of our customers are already touching this space. And I see just this massive opportunity coming down the road, and super excited about it. I think there's a lot of room there.
It intrigues me that you see half of your clients touched by this. It doesn't sound like all your clients are in technology or some green related field, energy related.
Sort of.
Well, they could be touched by it like me as I'm listening, which I knew nothing about this. I've got 4 buildings, so I've got major heating, air conditioning issues. And if there's money to go ahead and upgrade this to, I bought this building I'm sitting in 22 years ago. I'm sure the technology's old when I put the boiler in back then. If there's money available to upgrade that and save some money, why wouldn't I do that?
Yeah. And Jay, you're going to see such an opportunity because I was looking into the EV tax credits as an example. So they are extending the EV tax credits, which all of them had expired or were expiring. So that's great. But on the fleet level, on the business fleet level, there's massive money. So I was just looking into this morning, if you are a fleet owner, you own vehicles for your business, there's a tax credit for vehicles that weigh under 14,000 pounds. So think about a little Chevy Bolt driving around, picking up stuff, small stuff. But the real big one are the 14,000 pound vehicles and above. So think like a van, a bigger vehicle. They have a $40,000, up to $40,000 tax credit. And then the charging stations themselves, you can now put them in as a building owner and get this 30% tax credit. And it's not capped like it was before. You can get up to $100,000. So there's folks like me, like the service providers who want to help businesses that, are in this space. I want to help the electrical company that's not very good at marketing, that's not very good at positioning and branding and culture, but they can get in front of this stuff and go to guys like you, Jay, and be like, all right, Jay, we can modernize your building. We can put EV chargers in. You can buy these vans that now are going to reduce your ongoing maintenance costs because they're electric instead of gas, or diesel.
No, I've got 5 vans. I got an 8-15-foot truck. I've got some sprinters, and that's and I've got a parking lot where I could put a charger in.
Yeah.
Shawn, 2 questions. First is, are you applying these kind of changes to your own personal existence? Do you have solar panels? Do you have other green things in your existence? Is this something that you're passionate about?
Yeah, so I'm building a house and an art studio right now, and this couldn't have come at a better time because I'm basically running all the conduit so that I can have an EV charger, that I can run solar off the roof, because all this stuff's going to get way cheaper in the coming years. The tax credits were expiring on a lot of this stuff. They're just expanding everything. So on a consumer level, there's awesome opportunities too.
What is your source for business owners? Say Jay decides that, he really wants to go for the lighter load trucks to cut costs and get those tax credits. Where are you finding the resources for the average person to take a look at in terms of their own business?
Yeah. So this stuff is everywhere out there. I mean, I did a quick search, because I knew it was out there. I was like, what are the exact numbers? So I typed in EV fleet tax credit or EV fleet Inflation Reduction Act. And there's tons of information, both put out by the federal government. They've got some nice one-pagers, as well as, Forbes, Inc., all the business publications have done pretty good reporting on this stuff. Yeah.
I mean, this stuff applies to a lot of different industries. We worked with a client named Karma, and what they were working on was reducing emissions for commuter traffic by incentivizing people to drive at different times and different routes. It's a pilot project that just got renewed as a real project in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, but they have received some of those dollars, and it's been a really big source of revenue that's enabling them to apply it to different cities. It's really interesting to watch.
Yeah.
So is that Karma with a C?
No, with a C, with a C. Go Karma.
Yeah, I think this is a great example of how municipalities and especially utilities are going to really start changing the way we behave and operate. It's so funny, folks are like, oh gosh, the government is forcing us into electric vehicles. Actually, that's not true. The market is forcing us into electric vehicles. GM and Ford and all these major car companies are like, we're going to electrify our entire fleet. They're just going to do it because they've seen what Tesla did. And they're like, that's where the money is. And it's not going to be linear. It's going to be geometric in growth.
So do you think that the accounting firms are going to end up being a major source of getting the news out there to their clients?
Let's just say I haven't received any communication from my accounting firm on any of this stuff. And, they're terrible. They're terrible marketers. They're terrible communicators.
I don't know that this is marketing. I kind of feel like the accounting firms, if you're with a bigger one, should have the responsibility to let their clients know, here are some, it's taxation. Here are some tax benefits. Here are some, I would think, but then.
I think the bigger ones will. And when I say marketing, I just mean communications, right? Like getting things out, being proactive, letting folks know here's an opportunity, because most accounting firms are reactive. They process your tax return and tell you, oh, you owe this money, as opposed to being proactive. So I think that's why I wanted to get the word out today about this for anybody listening to this. There's big money all over the place.
Shawn, you said that as many as half of your clients will be touched by this. Do you have any sense what percentage of your clients are aware of that?
That's a really good question. I think it's pretty low at this point, because when I say touched by it, the guys doing work on the coast with the wave generated power, they've already been doing that. Like they didn't need the government to kind of be excited about this space.
But I'm guessing this could probably help and it'll make a difference to them.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think there's a lack of awareness on this.
So what's the opportunity for you? How are you going to try to take advantage of this?
Well, for me, as I look at our client base and I look at like who are the really great clients, it's kind of funny, but a lot of them are engineer and engineering related businesses. So think about, creating robots, think about engineering, building systems. And the reason those customers are really good for us is that they are great at their work. They've struggled though at like communicating why it is relevant for their customers. So they're just not really good communicators from how are we different? What's remarkable about what we do? They're just really good makers. They're really good at building things. So we're a great fit for those types of customers. Why they're also a good fit for us is that our process is very much a hold their hand, help them understand marketing, and walk them through it in a very prescriptive, educational way. So we take marketing and break it down into component parts, as opposed to we're the wizards and we have a black box of magic and we're going to do stuff and then you're going to love it. So we help them understand it and they appreciate that, right? Essentially what I've learned is that these businesses that sell something kind of complex that's hard to understand are a good fit for us because we can help them communicate that. And they know how to make money. So like they have margin, they can actually invest in the kind of stuff that we do. And so they're great clients, but they're underserved. They're not sexy. They're not shoe companies. They're not the type of clients that most consultancies are excited to work with. And we are. So it's a great fit.
So I think, Lauren, you're going to have to change the name of this to 22 hats, because this is another hat for an entrepreneur to have. That, Shawn, you bring up an excellent point. You can't count on your accounting firm to do this. This money's out there. It didn't used to be out there. And this is one more hat we have to wear of looking for government programs that will be useful for us that we should keep our eyes open for.
Yeah.
Actually, Jay, you don't have to wear another hat. You just have to subscribe to 21 Hats. And Sarah, do you see a PR opportunity here? Is there an opportunity for the early adopters to brag about their green credentials and make hay out of that?
Oh, that's greenwashing at 100%. And people are already doing that. It's like the equivalent of pinkwashing for October. most people will see right through it. I'm not a big fan of greenwashing, but if they're doing it and it's just a natural part of the values of their business, like 100%, if that's what you believe. But if you're like a makeup brand that uses animals to test their products and then like go say, oh, well, but we're going to deliver them with zero emission vehicles, like you're not saying and doing, you're just talking it, And so I think most people will do it because of the economics of it.
Mm-hmm.
If it's going to save you money or gain you tax credits or what have you, that's what's going to incentivize most business owners. Most business owners, they have good intentions and they want to be green and they want to do well for the environment. But as, Jay said, we're keeping adding hats to our responsibility. Like, I personally would love to have like a new office with, all green and sustainable and this and that. But like, there's a huge investment that goes into creating that, which I can't personally afford right now.
So this probably falls under the finance hat or the accounting hat, or as Lauren, as you said, if it is legitimately an authentic green thing and you're not greenwashing and it's legitimate, it could also fall under the marketing hat if you've done something that is legitimate and not just made up to, try to get publicity.
Well, and it falls under the business strategy category, right? So like, where are you going to position your business in the future that can potentially overlap in this space, regardless of whether people are doing it for altruistic reasons or, as Sarah's saying, they're doing it for financial reasons? I think that for owners to start thinking about where is it possible for our business to overlap in this space, regardless of your politics or regardless of whether you think, oh my God, I never want to give up my diesel truck. I just think about it. I'm an old school pragmatist. I was born and raised in the rural part of Oregon. And I just believe that how do you meet people where they're at? And I think you think about like a business like Jay's, it's a no brainer for him to start thinking about how to electrify his fleet. The maintenance costs on those internal combustion engines, the cost of filling them with fuel. It's crazy.
Yeah, I just put $100 in my car, and my car doesn't have a gigantic tank. It's substantial. I've got, I think, 12 vehicles. My gas bill every month is thousands of dollars, so there's no question that's something that's worth looking into.
Where I first kind of cued into this as a business opportunity, I had a client a number of years ago, and they were doing lighting retrofits. So they would go into a factory that was dim and dingy and kind of hard to see things, and they would replace all these high bay lights that were super energy hogs. And they would get the government to basically subsidize a huge chunk of that swap out. And they would just basically build a spreadsheet and show the owner, this investment, it will pay for itself within 2 years. And then after that, it's like printing money. And so they built a massive business, just basically going in and swapping stuff out. This is before the Inflation Reduction Act stuff.
Wait. Was that the government or was it the utilities like ComEd in Illinois gives you a credit?
It was often a combination. So it would be like, combination of utilities coming together and forming a pool of money or the government providing tax credits on the regional level. So like the state governments would provide some of the money. So it was like a combination of things. I mean, the guy built one of the fastest growing companies in the region, huge profitability. I mean, he just dominated with this new business model. And that was all a strategic play.
Did it run out of gas after everybody did their...
No. I mean, it's not as easy as it used to be, I'm sure, because a lot of those incentives expired. But I suspect now he's looking at this new legislation going, okay, how am I going to slot into this?
Thank you, Shawn. I feel like I'm making money just listening to you.
That's what I'm here for.
All right. First, I want to take a quick break to hear from our sponsor. We'll be right back. I'm here with Rob Levin, co-founder of Work Better Now, which provides top remote talent from Latin America and the Caribbean. Rob, have you found that the labor shortage has prompted more interest in your service?
It's a great question, Lauren. Demand really started picking up in about late 2020 as businesses became more comfortable with remote work. And the pace really hasn't let up one bit. What has changed is what businesses are looking for. Up to about a year ago, owners were looking for assistance as they needed to stop doing administrative work so they can focus on big picture items like increasing revenue. Recently, though, half of our hires have been for roles such as project and account management, marketing, bookkeeping, and customer service.
For many companies, the recruiting process can take months these days, and that can leave important roles unfilled. How quickly can WBN help?
What's really cool about this is our clients can have a matched assistant who is perfect for your needs within about 2 weeks, and there are no contracts.
What does using WBN cost?
For $1,900 a month, you get a full-time, dedicated Work Better Now assistant. And if you mention 21 Hats when you have your consult, you get $150 off the first 3 months. And that's for each assistant that you hire.
Where can we learn more?
WorkBetterNow.com.
Thanks, Rob. And we're back.
Next topic. Jay, we've talked a few times on the podcast about your challenges trying to replace your head of HR who left. Any updates? How's it going?
Okay, so I just want to give my philosophy, which I'm sticking with, which is I believe if you're careful who you hire and you only want to hire great people, you're probably going to get 100 resumes, of which you're going to interview 5 or 10, and out of that, one's going to be the person. So this round, I haven't gotten 100 resumes. I'm probably up to 60.
You've been frustrated by that.
I won't use the word frustrated because I'm kind of going with the flow here. I knew it wasn't going to be simple. So I'm going through it. And I went from going for someone who was in charge of HR to I took somebody who's been with me for 30 years. She's going to take it over because she knows the company. She's not going anywhere and she's very good at this stuff. And we're going to hire her a coordinator, a human resource coordinator, which will cost less and take a lot of the work off her plate. So we feel good about that transition.
So you initially
was looking for an HR director.
Right. And now you're looking for a more junior person.
I'm going to tell you what the problem is. Companies smaller than me don't have HR people. Like most HR people, just by definition, are working at bigger companies where there's growth potential and there's more assistance. And I'm a big little company. So I don't know that this is a plum job for a lot of people who are looking for an HR job. Whereas an HR coordinator, that's a much easier thing to hire for. So we changed the ad. I rewrote the ad. I put in there, a company that's known for their customer service and dedication to both the customer and the employees. And, been in business 43 years, was featured on the front cover Inc. magazine. I mean, I put good stuff in there and we're getting some applicants, not as many as I thought. But I'm just going to give you a flavor for what I'm getting. There's one question on the application through Indeed. I'm using both Indeed and ZipRecruiter. And there's one place that says, why is this position of interest to you? Okay, I think that's an important one. I want to see if they read the ad and whether they're engaged. One said, I'm helping them achieve their goals and aspirations for employment. Okay, here's another one. I'd like to be in an HR role since it's what I went to school for. Okay, not real inspiring. Think it would be a great fit. Okay, here's one. This person's looking for $126,000 a year, and they wrote down it. That's it. It. Now, I'm starting to think people are using this to go to sleep, and they start typing these things out. And she fell asleep after she got it. I think she was going to go, it sounds like it, but she just went to sleep. I got one that said, I didn't pick out the funny. This is what I'm getting. This isn't like I got almost no good ones that took a little time. Like, can you give me like 30 seconds to act like you read the ad and said something like your company sounds like the kind of whatever. Okay, here's one. Lifelong learner committed to improving the workplace for underrepresented individuals. All right. So I say to myself, sounds like they're a little mission driven, which is what I need, what I like. So we scheduled the interview for yesterday at 9 a.m., which I try to avoid because it's hard to get here with the rush hour. And she canceled an hour before she was supposed to be there. So we're still getting resumes in. Now, I've interviewed 3 people. One of them we liked. She didn't go to college, but she's clawed her way up. She's working in a company doing their recruiting and she's doing their HR. And we thought she was looking for $90,000, which we thought was a lot of money for her background and her experience. So we said no, but she called us back a couple days ago and said, I saw your new ad. Would you consider me for this? Absolutely. So she's coming in again and she might be a perfect fit for that. We have to decide Is she going to be happy with the money difference? Was she throwing, darts in the air at the 90? I don't know. That's a possibility. But the moral of the story in the big picture is I'm not going to hire somebody till the right person shows up.
Do you require any of your applicants, like when you get down to the final 3, do you require them to do any like sample work for you? We do that. I
haven't. Probably not a bad idea. The joke is just this application, they're so bad at filling this out that most of them, the one that said she went to school for this, she left the L off of school. Really? Yeah. So they've screened, some of them screen themselves out just in the application, but that's probably not a bad idea.
We make our applicants do like a sample campaign where we say, here is one of our clients. They are coming out with a new diamond donut truck, EV, I don't know, whatever it is. This is the date that it's going to launch. How would you go about publicizing this and write me a pitch? And kind of put together what that calendar looks like. And it's a made up opportunity, but it's reflective of stuff that we actually do. And some of them knock it out of the park, and some of them can't write.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
We have to have people that know how to write.
No, it's a problem that people graduate college and if you don't know how to spell with computers, is there an excuse left for why you're sending out mistyped?
Grammarly. Everybody should have Grammarly. Like, I buy it and I provide it to every one of my employees. So, they're very good writers and they're very good at spelling and all that kind of stuff. But sometimes you miss stuff, and so you drop it into that. It helps double check it and you're good to go. But nothing can go to a client that has a typo.
I haven't gotten to that level yet because no one's gotten through the first screen.
Well, Jay, Sarah's describing a bottom of funnel solution, and you've got a top of funnel problem.
Right. Absolutely.
I'm curious, what are you doing about the top of funnel for employee recruitment?
I'm still getting 1 or 2 a day, and I'm just waiting until the right one shows up.
No, but what are you doing? Like, you're describing what's happening to you, but what are you doing?
Well, what I did was I changed the job description. I put the money thing in there now. I didn't used to.
The money thing meaning a salary range.
I tell them the salary range.
I think that's great.
Yeah, for sure. And I didn't used to, but I put that in there. I'm pretty confident that we're going to find somebody in the next 2-3 weeks.
Have you asked your own staffers, like if they have any? Like, do you do referral fees for your staffers? Like, where they may know somebody who's in HR that wants to change roles and would be excited to work with them?
I'm just going through in my head of my employees. It's either I've got ones that are, I just don't know that that's the circles they run in. I certainly can ask.
We don't do that, but there are a lot of companies that will say, hey, you send us a good employee, we're going to put a little bonus on your check.
This is the kind of job that is unlike any of the people that work here. So I don't know that I certainly can try that, but I don't think it's the kind of thing. Oh, I've got a friend who.
I don't know. I got friends that are doctors and, I don't, it's not in my world. People know people, neighbors.
I like Sarah's idea. I'm very hesitant to put money onto it because honestly, I've heard of folks doing that. I've not heard of anybody saying it's awesome.
I used to do it in the factory, and it does backfire sometimes. Now, all of a sudden, you have to answer to them as to why their friend that you brought in didn't work out. Now, all of a sudden, you're answering to them. Well, and now you're telling. It's like none of their business. It's tricky.
Yeah, I want the incentive to be, I want to work with great people. I don't want the incentive to be, I want to make a few bucks. And so that's where I worry about the financial incentive.
Shawn, do you have a suggestion for Jay's top of funnel problem?
Yeah, I think it's worth, how many employees do you have, Jay?
130.
Yeah. So do you have any kind of employee communications platform, like an ongoing newsletter or anything like that?
No.
So I'd consider starting that, which your HR person should probably be in charge of, your people leader. But to have an ongoing communication saying, hey, this is what we're looking for. You may not know somebody in your direct circle, but maybe you could talk to your friends and, that kind of thing.
That certainly is worth doing. And the person that I put in charge of it, she's good at that stuff. I'll have her do that for sure.
That's where I would start.
I'm going to find someone in the next few weeks. I'm absolutely confident that it's just a matter of time. I mean, it's not like it dried up. I'm getting one or two a day. So it's just a numbers game as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. The other thing I found that's been a good strategy, and this is a little bit mercenary of me, and I feel a little bad, is I figured out a long time ago that there's a point in every nonprofit employee's life where they realize that they're tired of not making any money. And nonprofit folks can make really amazing employees because they tend to have a sense of purpose and meaning is what motivates them. And so if you can come and find where do those folks congregate and, basically give them an option.
I agree with Shawn. I have one of my best and favorite and most wonderful recent hires. She was a producer and worked in, for public television for years and then moved into nonprofits and managing programs for them. And she is like just smart and capable and driven, and it's a good resource.
I don't think I've ever heard you say anything, Shawn, that I could disagree with more than that. I think that could be true, but I think that there's plenty of people working at nonprofits that could never survive in the for-profit world. It's just different. And I'm not saying all or nothing, but I don't think that
those are usually not the ones who leave it. So what I'm saying is like the high performers.
Okay, then say some. You didn't say that. You said most. You said they. It's not most of them. Some of them I would go with. Okay, I can buy that. Some of them figure out they need to make more money, but I don't know that it's most of them.
I mean, it's the same way PR firms have figured out they can poach from journalism, right? Journalism doesn't pay very well, and yet it demands a lot of you. And so, ex-journalists are often really great in the PR space because they work hard. They're not accustomed to getting paid a lot of money. So when you pay them a reasonable salary, it's like, wow. And then they never go back. And then we destroy journalism in America. So no problem.
So do you think I should be hanging out in like vegetarian restaurants and stuff?
Well, for example, in Portland, there's a job board for nonprofits and we advertise on it when we open up a position. And it's been great for us. We've gotten some of our best employees from there. It's amazing.
That might be the difference between Portland and Chicago.
I bet there's some nonprofits in Chicago.
I think you should try it, Jay.
Clearly. I'll try anything. I'm open to.
Try it and report back.
I guess one other thing I would add is that I think we have somewhat moved from the era of just put a job out there and you'll get people to you actually have to strategically go after people. And that needs to become the HR people champion's job, is building relationships before you need to hire for the role. It's kind of a recruiting job.
Recruiters, all they do is they find people with similar qualifications that are a level below what you want to hire for, and reach out to them on LinkedIn and say, hey, you want to get promoted? This is a great opportunity.
No, that might be my next step. I don't disagree with that at all. I'm thinking that I'm just going to leave the hook in the water a little bit longer before I move on to that. But I'm just surprised at people that are in HR, how little energy they put into this application. Like I'm talking about just put one sentence in there instead of it.
Literally.
It's a dysfunctional field. The problem is that for years, HR was underpaid, underappreciated, and positioned as the enemy of the employees. So you've got a lot of that legacy in there that I really like I'm going to hire a junior person, because then your senior person can train them to behave in the ways you want them to behave.
Yes, absolutely. This wasn't a desperation move. I feel real good about this strategy.
Yeah. I like it.
And I'll tell you something else, which is a problem lately. This whole pandemic thing, I used to go to my factory every Friday and have a meeting every Friday. I haven't been there. I'm there occasionally, but I haven't had a meeting there in 2 years. There's people over there. They don't even know who I am.
Why aren't you doing it?
Because of the pandemic. People are still wearing masks. I'm wearing a mask sometimes. We're getting close, but
Why can't you do it?
Go over there and have meetings again?
Yeah. Everybody's wearing masks anyway.
Well, they're not. It's not foolproof, and there's still people that are very nervous about it. Like, we still have 2 cafeterias we set up, so they're not sitting close to each other. But contrary to belief, it's not completely over yet, and I just as soon wait a little bit longer.
I didn't mean to suggest that it was, but...
Oh, it is in California. Like, you wouldn't know that the pandemic was even a thing. Like, everybody's over it.
Oh, I can tell you go to some places, most people have masks on.
Wow.
I went to a conference yesterday. I saw one person with a mask on, and there was like 600 people there.
Wow. That's surprising.
I have not had the COVID yet. Neither has anybody in my family. So knock on wood.
Sarah, tell us about that conference. What kind of conference did you go to?
Oh, I don't know that you want to know about my conference.
Oh, I do.
I haven't been to a conference for a while, but I went with a client of mine who is a journalist that's very interested in the metaverse, and is a conference put on by The Economist, and very well attended. Basically, heads of startups to people that are working in divisions of like Ernst & Young on trying to figure out how the metaverse is going to impact their businesses and their clients. But it was really cool just to see what it was about and where it is. We're still in the nascent stages of what it could be. But how familiar is everybody here with what the metaverse is?
Tell us like we're 5-year-olds, Sarah.
Okay.
Or 85-year-olds.
Or 66-year-olds, yeah.
Okay. So I'm sure you guys have seen the kids like put on these VR headsets and play like things like Roblox, right? Where you get to kind of move through a gaming experience, right? The technical definition is a highly immersive visual world where people gather, socialize, play, and work. That's how it's defined. But there's a lot of non-gaming applications that are in the works that are super interesting, where it can be applied to medicine. It can be applied to even just how people interact. Like my company we just started having our meetings with clients in the metaverse, where we go into what's called a workroom and you put on your VR headset. You don't actually have to have a VR headset to do it because you can join through Google Meet, but it brings you into what looks like kind of an office. You can change the look and feel of it. It can be on the beach. It can be in a condo kind of feeling, like whatever it is, but you're there. And what's really cool about having calls on this space is that you really are part of it. Like the 3-dimensionality of it. Like I'm looking at my client and they're an avatar, but the avatar, they dressed themselves and created an avatar that looked like themselves. You get over that really, really quickly because you're so excited to have that kind of, like, you can almost feel like you touch and feel them and have that conversation. Also, you're wearing these headsets where you can't hear, there's no distraction. So my email isn't going off in the background. My dog isn't barking in the background. I'm literally just focused on the conversation. One of my staffers told me after the call, she's like, my cheeks hurt from smiling the whole time.
To the extent we know anything about the metaverse, we know what we just heard, that I think probably simultaneously to you being at this conference, Facebook was announcing, or Meta was announcing, that it had lost $20 billion or something on its Meta investment.
But the same day that happened was the official distribution of their new VR headset. And now everybody's excited about that. So they almost strategically said, okay, our numbers aren't looking good. Let's release something cool that everybody's going to be excited about. And they did that.
Tell me this, Sarah. Do you see the metaverse playing a role in the way you run your business anytime in the near future?
Well, I think people are still trying to figure that out. But we've started having all of our pitch calls in person, pitch presentations in person again, because it was recommended on this podcast that I do that. And I think we're two for two now.
It's helped.
Yeah, it's helped, right? Short of that, couldn't you meet in the metaverse instead? Because right now, everybody in the metaverse, they look like a cartoon, right? But I don't think that's the permanent. We're not all going to look like cartoon. At some point, they're going to figure out how to do a 3D scan of what I look like, put me in the metaverse, where I can talk and speak to people like I was there in real life and not look like a cartoon. But there were cool things like we did a test drive with this company, Haptic, and they make these gloves where you put these gigantic gloves on. They're, still working on, everybody's trying to make everything smaller, slowly but surely, that where forced air, pressurized air gets pushed into your hands, but you can actually pick things up and touch things and feel them, things that don't exist in real life, but only exist in the metaverse. So think about the applications for that in terms of medicine. So somebody needs surgery in a third world country. We have a surgeon in Boston who's very good at whatever this is. Theoretically, 10 years from now or even sooner, they can put on these gloves, they can put on goggles, they can conduct the surgery without actually going to the third world country. That is the kind of application that everybody was kind of talking about.
Will Jay be able to frame a picture in another country without going there?
How many people were talking about picture framing at this conference?
No, Jay. So here you go. You do. You can offer the service of, we will help you measure your space and lay out where your photographs want to be hung on your picture wall. By joining us in the metaverse, you can say, hey, I want you to build a 21 Hats building where people can just drop in and talk about business problems, where, it's not just Jay, Lauren, Shawn, and I. It's like you can go in the 21 Hats space in the metaverse and speak to like-minded people, like Vistage. You can have groups there.
How do we know you were actually there and you just haven't imagined now that you were there because it was so immersive and you didn't leave your house? How do we know?
I know. Today, they're actually doing a second day where it's all in the metaverse.
Wow.
So I can rejoin and walk through. They've set up a whole virtual stage.
Wait, you could do that by going there or from your home or office?
From my home. They've created a main stage where you can join via your Oculus and sit in the audience and watch the interviews with thought leaders in the space.
So let me ask you this question. Since you're using an Oculus, does that mean
for the impaired at home? Can we talk about what an Oculus is?
Is that big white thing you put on your face? Have you seen that?
You've probably seen commercials.
Goggles.
I've seen it on
it's
TV.
a goggle.
Okay.
It looks like a ski goggles.
Okay, got it.
So am I doing business with Facebook by using this device? Do I have to go through Facebook?
No. There are like 36 different worlds, quote unquote. I'm still learning about it. I am not an expert.
Okay.
But Facebook owns a certain worlds and certain experiences and stuff. But they just rebranded themselves, and people are they create good products. The Oculus works and it works well.
I would challenge that a little bit. I think they buy good products.
Well, that might happen too. But
I don't think they actually, their innovation track record is really shitty. Like their online dating, their currency, like anything they try to create on their own has been mediocre at best.
Well, isn't their mantra work quickly, make
and break things?
Yeah, move fast and break things like democracy. But anyway, I guess the thing that my number one concern here is I think there's a tremendous opportunity, especially around augmented reality, like to your idea with Jay, somebody to be able to show Jay, here's my living room. I want to create a gallery wall. Here's the art I have. And then for Jay's designers to organize and frame that in virtual would be an amazing business opportunity for him.
I just want to clue you into something. There are certainly people that are all over that, and they've all hemorrhaged tens and tens of millions of dollars. And I don't think that it's a huge problem at the moment. So,
it's early. It's
I got
early.
it.
It's too early.
But there's companies that are hemorrhaging $1 gazillion, and everyone's not going, oh my God, I can finally hang some pictures on my wall. Not keeping a lot of people up at night. So
Well, because the mistake those companies are making is they're trying to own the market, as opposed to where I think your future lies, Jay, is you wait until these technologies become cheap and easy for you to use, and then you adopt them.
That old expression, the second mouse gets the cheese.
Yes.
You're not in the early adopter space. Like, you don't need that, but there are other places that need to be early adopters. Like Ernst & Young needs to be early adopters. They can't service their clients if they're not clued into the potential of it. Like, architects love this stuff.
That's a huge opportunity. That's really interesting because I'm using Google SketchUp right now to visualize the building I'm building, but it's really imperfect, and right? The ability to actually feel like, wow, I'm in this space and I get a sense of the space. That's pretty awesome. Realtors,
you can actually go and visit a house that's for sale. You get the 360 imagery, but then you can actually go in and feel how the space feels. Like, yeah, it's cartoonish now, but it's not going to be cartoonish in 5 to 10 years. It's going to feel like it.
All right, Lauren, bring it back home. Bring it back to reality, will you?
Jay's like, I'm done with this.
We have to move from the West Coast, you two, to the middle here, and now we got to go East Coast to hit some harsh reality. Lauren, you're on.
So, Jay, what's your metaverse strategy?
My metaverse strategy is to go to lunch when we're done and
see real people.
See some real people.
Okay. Jay, can you borrow an Oculus from some teenager that you know? And Lauren, you two, and Shawn, and meet me in the metaverse.
Okay.
I'll send you an invite. I want you to see what it's like.
For anyone listening to this who feels as though they might have gotten lost in the metaverse, yes, this is the 21 Hats podcast. And yes, next week we will probably be back on planet Earth, I think. My thanks to Shawn Busse, Jay Goltz, and Sarah Segal, and to our sponsor, Work Better Now. Thanks for sharing, guys. Wait, don't leave yet. If you have a question or a comment that you'd like the 21 Hats owners to address, send it to me by replying to your morning report or by email at lauren@21hats.com. That's LOREN@21hats.com. Do it now before you forget. And don't be afraid to tell Jay what you really think. He can take it. And if you got something out of this conversation, help us reach more business owners. Tell a friend. Subscribe and review us wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on Twitter. Subscribe to the Morning Report at 21hats.com. This episode was produced by Jess Thuberon, founder of Blank Word Productions. Okay, now you can leave. Thanks for listening, everyone.